Superman is a man, a person, a hero for the world.
Warner Brothers takes its latest superhero swing with Superman. Its director, James Gunn, calls the movie a story about an immigrant who came from somewhere else and the value of basic human kindness. In his words, the story of America.
I don't think of him as, he is American. He's raised in Kansas. He's a Midwestern kid, just like me.
And now the idea of Superman, remember, literally an alien from another planet, being framed as an immigrant story is getting a lot of attention.
And the movie just started the political backlash after he called it an immigrant story. And
talked about Superman being an immigrant. And now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant.
Bro, why does that guy sound like freaking Grover from Sesame Street?
I, Grover, would like to remind you that your goals may be ambitious.
No, wait, Yoda. Anyway, what the hell is going on with this divide that the Superman movie started causing before it even came out? It feels like whenever something gets this kind of backlash early on, it's usually because someone behind the scenes messed up the marketing and riled people up and got them disinterested before they even had a chance to care about the movie. And with how much bad faith Hollywood's already lost, that just seems like a recipe for disaster, and people haven't learned, apparently. And I think it's fair to say also that a lot of people, including myself, we were very upset about Henry Cavill being booted. Let's just be honest. Cavill, sorry, I know people say I keep pronouncing his name wrong. Cavill. He was my second exposure to Superman. The first one was with the one that had the kid. And my husband told me that apparently this movie was supposed to be the fifth movie that was a continuation from the originals, which I didn't know, and this is the first Superman movie I ever watched. So, whoops. But this scene right here was so badass. Especially when you realize that Superman's supposed to be much stronger than the plane, but he's trying to do it in such a way so he doesn't hurt everybody. Otherwise, he would have stopped that plane real quick. See how when he's like, I'm gonna just take the wing, and he just rips it right off. I really do think it was a decent movie. I actually liked it, especially at the end where, I already spoil it, but this movie's like hella old. But yeah, he had a kid, and I'm like, is that his child? And then the kid saves his mom. That stuck out to me a lot. I was very impressed by that. But now knowing that it was the continuation from the first one, now I kind of want to see the third and fourth, because my husband made me watch the first two. But anyway, that being said, Cavill was my second exposure to Superman, and I was actually really excited because I first saw Henry Cavill from The Tudors. And freaking Charles Brandon, he was the best friend to Henry VIII, and he was such a freaking dog. I was like, damn, man. But he was so handsome. Like, man, this man looks even... Good Lord, I have never seen a man so pretty in all my life. You know those paintings and renditions of Greek gods and stuff? He literally is carved out like that. So interesting to look at. And then I realized he was playing Superman. I was like, oh, let's go, because he did redeem himself by the end of that show. I had binged the whole thing. It was really interesting. But yeah, that was my first exposure to him, and I did like him as an actor. I still do like him as an actor. Funny enough, my husband and I disagree because he did not like Henry Cavill's version of Superman. Like, he's like, nah, that doesn't really feel like Superman, and that's why he sat me down to get some kind of context for who Superman is and why the character got so big on TV and in pop culture in the first place. And honestly, I liked it. Yeah, it was very, very corny, and a lot of it didn't make sense, but I get it. I get the general gist now. Christopher Reeve as Superman was okay. He was likable. The comedy was cute. I understand why my husband likes him so much. He says he's more relatable, and I liked Henry Cavill Superman because, well, he looks like Superman to me. He feels like Superman to me. If some alien came to Earth and was stronger than everybody else, I'd imagine him being stoic and godlike and looking better than the rest of us. That's just how I see it. I get where my husband's coming from, though. Superman's supposed to be relatable, but at the same time, is he, though? He's an alien. He's the strongest man on Earth. Yeah, he was raised by humans, but he's not one. He's supposed to be the best version of humanity, of us, not just some guy who's doing exactly what we would do in any given situation or have the same reaction. He should be somewhat relatable, sure, but not totally relatable. Like, it's relatable in his personalities where it matters, but you know what I mean, right? That's just how I feel, even if my husband disagrees with me. There's just something amazing about a godlike figure who sacrifices his own emotional well-being for the people below him. That humility, that quiet strength, for me personally, that's very powerful. And yeah, I love Henry Cavill Superman. I really do feel like DC wasted him. and wasted a good actor, and I'm with everybody else who feels the same. The original Superman movies seem to be more about hope. Superman went around helping people, cats and trees and all that stuff, protecting the innocent while trying to find love. It was all very 1, 2, 3, black and white. And Lex Luthor was, good lord, he was cartoonishly evil. Like, his minion, so over the top that he looks stupid sometimes. And then he would just, like, magically know things for convenience sake, and it made no sense. But then again, that was probably just how most entertainment was back then. Although I've watched some of their old horror movies and stuff, and honestly, it seemed to handle things a little bit better than those. Still, I get it. I get the appeal, but I also understand why Superman needed a little bit of modernization, especially in terms of graphics and acting and all of that. That said, I actually like those first 2 movies with Christopher Reeve. My husband told me that the last 2, or the 2 movies after that, were trash. I wouldn't know because I didn't watch them. But there is a noticeable difference between Henry Cavill Superman and the Superman of this age, which is David Cornsweet Superman.
Lex, I tried to stop him.
It's fine, Heather. Superman, we finally meet. Would you like a coffee?
Where's the dog?
Dog?
The dog, Luther! You took the dog!
That's right, you get all of this.
Where's the dog?
First off, I don't know why they decided to show some of the most emotional scenes of Superman yelling and throwing a tantrum. And for me, even after watching Christopher Reeve, that I just didn't feel like Superman. I mean, we've seen Henry Cavill Superman crying, and we've seen Reeves crying. It's usually when there is, yes, their loved ones are on the line, and Krypto is Superman's loved one. I get it. But it's not the only clip I've seen him like super emotional over things. I haven't watched the movie, so I don't know if all of those emotional tones are warranted. I would not have shown those because I feel like those have to be earned, because you have this person who never does those things, and then you show those most emotional moments in the marketing. I don't think that's the greatest, I don't think that was the greatest move. I can judge that clip and say it looked a little bit ridiculous, and maybe it's because David Cornsweet, like, you know, if you hold him up next to Henry Cavill, one looks like Superman and, like, you know, like a god chiseled him to perfection, and the other one just...
You know what I mean?
That being said, I'm still willing to give it a chance. I know how annoying it is when people see a character they like and then somehow bad things happen and someone new takes over, and it just feels wrong at first. That happened to me with the 10th Doctor in Doctor Who. I was really annoyed when he came on screen, but he ended up becoming my favorite. Same thing with Matt Smith's Doctor, the one that came after him, and in a lot of ways he was even better sometimes. Same initial annoyance, but eventually I grew to like him too.
He's just a dog.
I don't know what dog you're talking about.
So things feel incendiary for 2 main reasons. The first is that people are upset about what happened with the DC universe overall. There's no payoff. I understand that frustration. And the second reason is that people apparently hate James Gunn with all of their soul.
Guys, I'm a fan too. Why do you think Warner Brothers put me behind that desk you now owe me?
So you could pitch Batman ideas to yourself?
Exactly. And you know what I've learned? Making movies isn't easy. The next Maximum Velocity movie has been rewritten 40 times, 30 by me. Now, we'll spend 5 years and $500 million making it. But in the end, know what will make fans like you like it? A fucking miracle.
And then James Gunn comes out and says the whole bit about immigration, even though, yes, Superman is technically a refugee. His parents sent him here because his planet got blown up. Reason being, his people were too freaking stupid to listen to what was very obviously a problem and brought about their own extinction. And I guess his parents couldn't go with him because communism? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing for sure. When articles and people start attacking others for a specific political leaning, basically setting up half of the audience as the problem, that's probably not a good move and has been proven to sling shit in their faces. Especially if you're trying to get people on board with your movie. Even if Forbes was like, Superman's an immigrant? Director James Gunn faces right-wing backlash for claim. Now, to be fair, I didn't see where James Gunn explicitly say anything about right-wing people. Could be wrong, but that's not what I've seen. But yes, I can understand why in this kind of climate, with immigration being such a sensitive topic, saying something like that might not be the best move unless you're literally trying to stir up controversy just to get people talking about your movie. And look, I know there are a lot of people out there who just hate on everything just to hate it, either because they're completely done with Hollywood, which I honestly can't blame them for, or because they just don't like James Gunn. And I'm still trying to figure out why, like, what exactly did this man do? I mean, Zack Snyder and the people running DC before weren't exactly doing a great job with the cohesion of the DCU. even the same fans who now hate James Gunn for taking it over had problems with Man of Steel and the later DC project. So I figured people would want new blood to come in and try and fix things, especially someone who's made popular titles or successful ones. That's what's a little confusing to me. Like, I actually have hope, but because the people who were previously in charge of DC, they weren't doing great. Everybody unanimously agreed. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Even though I loved Man of Steel, yes, it wasn't perfect. I enjoyed it. So I figured it might be okay to bring in someone new, someone who actually knows how to tell stories that people care about. He's proven himself with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I saw Brightburn. One thing I can say is that James Gunn clearly has a bone for horror. Maybe he should direct some of those Jurassic Park movies or something.
Brandon, I'm sorry. Oh, Brandon.
Bro, this movie was freaking awesome. I actually want to go back and watch it. I was so surprised that James Gunn is the one who was behind this, because dude, and the actor that he chose for Brandon, holy moly, that kid can act. Like, and the thing is, the kid wasn't even a monster. He didn't do what he did because he wanted to do it at first. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of that there, but his parents kind of created the monster they were afraid that he was, which sucked. And after he was betrayed, oh my God. You kind of can understand where Brandon's coming from in this. And his mother, after everything, trying to win his trust, did that to him. Like, oh, so good. James Gunn can make stuff like this. This is the reason why I had hope, which is why it's crazy to me why I'm hearing that people are saying that he's injecting MCU style humor into places where it's not necessary. And yeah, I can see how that can get annoying real quick. I just hope he doesn't lean into that too much, because that would just, anyway. So I looked into what he actually said about the immigration stuff based on the interviews. And he says here, I mean, Superman is a story of America, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country, but for me it's mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we've lost. Yes, it plays differently, but it's about human kindness, and obviously there will be jerks out there who are just not kind and will take it as offensive just because it's about kindness, but screw them. Then later he says, yes, it's about politics, but on another level, it's about morality. Do you never kill no matter what, which is what Superman believes, or do you have some balance as Lois believes? I think Americans call it lawless. Very weird to me. But anyway, it's really about their relationship and the way different opinions on basic moral beliefs can tear two people apart. That's interesting. I do think that telling people screw them, even if they're jerks out there, probably isn't the best, because it kind of seems as though you're saying, oh, well, if you don't agree or like the movie based on the messaging I'm saying it's about, then you're a jerk and screw you. He didn't explicitly say that, but that is the way it can be interpreted. So I think that was a bad thing to say. And yes, people can take it to mean, well, you're talking about immigrants. Shame on you, James Gunn. You knew what you were doing. Now, from my point of view, what he said is technically true. America is a nation founded on immigrants. I mean, let's not forget, the original Americans used to be British. They were being taxed to hell, oppressed, and basically told what to do by a monarchy that wasn't even on the same continent. So they were like, you know what? If you're not going to be representing us over here, you can't keep taxing us, dude. You're all the way across the pond, as they would put it. We're going to be our own people. Leave us the hell alone. And they fought for that freedom and independence from Britain. They paved their own way, and honestly, that's the story of so many cultures and nations all over the world, regardless of color or creed or background. People moving, escaping something, following something, trying to start over, just multiplying or building something better. That's a human story, and Superman fits that mold because he came from a dying world and found a new one to protect. And if you really want to get technical, even like the original Americans, what we now call Native Americans, which is very weird because they were Americans before Americans, but whatever, they weren't originally from here either. According to the long-standing theory, they were Paleo-Indians who migrated from Siberia across the Bering Land Bridge thousands of years ago. So basically, everybody came from somewhere else at some point. So yeah, I get what James Gunn is trying to say. The immigration angle, that's not really made up. I get it. It's just that in the current, like at this moment, the political climate is a very sensitive topic. People are going to get defensive. There's a lot of people who have a dog in that fight because they were directly affected by it, no matter what side they're on, especially when they think it's being used as a jab at them. And when you're trying to market a Superman movie, which should really ideally unite people, not cause people to fight, you really got to be careful how you present that message. Because what he said isn't necessarily wrong. It's just that how and when you say something can make the difference, especially in the current climate. However, when you do take over a station and call it a nation, then yeah, you do have the right as a people to protect your territory and say that if you're going to come into our nation from another tribe, to make sure you're not going to yonk all of us, like humans are prone to doing to each other, then, make sure that, we can document you being here. So you're just not like some ghost who goes around undocumented, running around stabbing people or committing crimes or mooching off the system, or the people without paying taxes that are oppressing everybody else who has to live here. I don't think most people have a problem with immigrants per se, so I don't know when it became like a right-wing thing. And the thing is, most of us here are immigrants. So if you really want to be technical with it, every single one of us are. Even I'm an immigrant. I'm second gen. And what's even more ironic about this is that originally as a kid, I didn't have any papers when I came here. My mom did, however. She was already solidified in the medical field, so we lickety-split, made sure that I got documented, made sure my dad got documented. We still have our culture. We're still very proud of it, but we did assimilate into American culture. And assimilate sounds like a very scary word, especially if you learned about the Borg from Star Trek. But all it means is if you're going to be living in an area, you have to live by their rules. If in another country, it's customary to shit on the street and hop around the pile of shit 6 times in public before you walk off and leave it there, might not fly here. You know what I mean? If where you come from eating dogs and butchering them, the ones that are on the street and are strays is completely normal, that's not normal here. It's you'll probably get hurt trying to do that here. It's okay if that's your culture over where you come from, but it's not okay here. And if you're going to live here, you can't be going around and being all like, ooh, well, look at that. Fluffy got loose today. I guess we're having some chopped dog meat. Like, it's not rocket science. I think a lot of people from the UK and America just fed up because of situations where certain officials are given a little bit more leniency and resources to people who have come here and are living here illegally or refuse to be documented because they want to mooch off the system without giving back anything in return. And that's understandable why people would be sensitive about that. And what's wild to me, like, I made fun of this trolling people in the past. It is true. There are a lot of people who are fighting for this and saying that, well, who's gonna cut our lawns and pump our gas? Like, ma'am, do you hear yourself? I've actually used that same argument to push it in someone's face just to see what they would say. And they were legit after I told them, like who's gonna, cut all the lawns and do the landscaping and all of that? And they literally legit replied to me and said, exactly, I know, right? Not realizing I was trolling them the entire time. And it's always funny to see people's reactions because to this day, until very recently, I've seen other people do it, I've not talked to one person or said that. Just to see where people's heads are at, I'll just make that statement, just be like, I bet you. I want to see how many people come in here and agree. And then have them disagree with me and say, hey, it's kind of racist. I haven't heard one person say that to this day. Almost every single one of them, black, white, doesn't matter, say exactly the same thing. They'll try to soften it up and say, oh, well, they're instrumental to our society and they help build this country, but they say it in a way to insinuate that these people should be of service to the rest of us that are in America. And it's so hilarious how they don't even understand the freaking irony. But anyway, I think that's part of the reason why people are so heated about the whole immigration thing. And it's a very touchy subject already. So yeah, maybe not the best way to market your movie by saying something like that, but James Gunn probably knew what he was doing. Probably. Because wasn't he a provocateur? Didn't he get pretend sidelined by Marvel because people found his old posts about him saying some heinous shit, but he was trolling? Apparently, he said, many people who have followed my career know that when I started, I viewed myself as a provocateur, making movies and telling jokes that were outrageous and taboo. As I have discussed publicly many times, as I've developed as a person, so has my work and my humor, he wrote. It's not to say I'm better, but I'm very, very different than I was a few years ago. Today, I try to root my work in love and connection and less in anger. My days saying something just because it's shocking and trying to get a reaction are over.
Is it really?
Yeah, you really think he just changed just like that? Doubtful. For all we know, that could be a troll too. But then his brother had to come out and add.
Talked about Superman being an immigrant. And now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
What the fuck is wrong with your voice? Good lord. Is that the voice for Yoda? Is that the guy who does him? Maybe. I have to look into it afterwards, but weird.
You know, my reaction to that is that it is exactly what the movie is about, I think. That, like, we support our people, you know? We love our immigrants. We love, yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American.
More questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Damn.
People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. They're against what the American dream is all about.
Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, coming out and saying, basically, you're not American if you don't agree with this. It's actually a very incendiary way to market the film, because all that it serves to do is create more division. Instead of letting the movie speak for itself and trying to change those people's opinions about it, or even about the topic in a subtle way that people used to do in the older movies, you're going to just come out here and attack the audience. Even if the audience is like, well, I don't like immigrants, period. I don't care if they're illegal or not. I just don't like them because I'm racist. You know, even if that's the case, you can use a movie like this to try and win people like this over, but you coming out and then attacking them this way, it's not a good look. And like I said, if Superman himself were to come out here out of the ether and stand here to promote this movie, I really don't think that's the kind of thing he would say. It's actually decent of James Gunn to try and stay neutral when he was put on the spot, to say it's a film for everybody, you know, even though he kind of walked it back after the fact, you know. But even if he doesn't personally believe that or disagrees with the politics, it's smart of him not to take the bait, because honestly, it would be wise of him to avoid falling into the trap that these interviewers and reporters keep laying. They are the people that were in school starting shit and instigating to get people to fight so they could eat popcorn and watch. They don't have the movie's best interest at heart. They don't have the actor or the directors or even the audience's best interest at heart. As for me, I've decided to give it a chance because I do like James Gunn's work so far. I don't have to like him as a person because I don't know him as a person, but I'm still willing to give the movie a fair shot.
He is this very warm, open, loving, good, kind guy.
Now people are saying stuff about the irreverent comedy being injected in places where it doesn't belong, and I can understand how that's very annoying. The MCU has a bad habit of doing this lately, dropping in humor that isn't even funny in places where it just kills the moment. They don't let the emotional moments just settle and let us feel them. It's like every serious scene has to be undercut by some stupid, weird dad joke. And after a while, it just stops being entertaining. It just feels really forced. It feels unnatural. Even kids think it's weird. So if that's something Gunn brings into Superman, I definitely can see why that would turn some people off, especially if you're tired of it. Not every movie needs to be a punchline. Not every movie needs to be Guardians of the Galaxy or Deadpool. Sometimes just letting a scene breathe makes the difference, and that will be something that will stay with us. Like, I am so freaking jaded by it that in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, with what happened with Rocket's otter friend, I almost expected them to punch it down with a joke. Like, I literally was expecting a joke to follow after. Like, Rocket's crying, and then someone makes this very untimely joke, like, just out of the ether, so I guess she's not coming back, you know, just to undercut it. I was fully expecting that. That's how freaking traumatized I am by the misplaced comedy. But my final take on all of this is go see the movie for yourself. Even if it's not in theaters anymore and you're watching this well after the fact, go see it for yourself. There are a lot of things about what I've seen so far that haven't really sold me yet on it. Feels like another by-the-numbers MCU type situation where they're trying to copy the MCU itself, and DC's like, well, they've had success, even though lately they've been losing the audience, but let's just try to do what the MCU's doing. And there seems to be a lot of character bloat, like a lot of stuff going on. Like, this version of Superman seems to be cartoonishly immature, even though I imagine he's supposed to be a somewhat younger version of Kal-El. I don't know. My father is a big fan of Smallville. I don't really know anything about Smallville, with the exception of who plays Superman and Lana. And yeah, that's basically it. And that freaking clip that I was shown of the Smallville actor running as Superman and something else running alongside him in his jeans, and that's the extent of it. Oh yeah, and based on what my dad told me, apparently he and Lex Luthor were somewhat friends or becoming friends, but Lex liked Lana. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. What matters is that, does this Superman feel like that? Everyone's going to have their version and preference for things. Like, some people don't like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I liked him. And then funny enough, when we all grow up and now the same people were saying that they didn't like him before, they're actually now saying that they do like him, even though he's not their favorite portrayal. And I think how they handled it in Tom Holland's franchise in No Way Home was actually done really well. Bringing him and Toby back, that was really awesome. Doesn't mean that they have to do it with everything. I hope they don't. But yeah, that was understandable because they were already finished the franchises that people loved. It was completed, and it was a multiverse and all that jazz. So they basically made them canon for the fans, which is a good move. There's nothing wrong with, you know, also judging something as you see it. So if the trailer looks terrible, you can judge the trailer based on how it looks. There's no way of telling if the movie's going to be good, but you can see a trailer and say it looks like ass. You're allowed to say that. I don't know why people are like, well, you haven't seen the movie. Yeah, well, they're judging the trailer, though. But then when you see the movie, you can say, well, I thought as much, or you can be pleasantly surprised and say, wow, the trailer didn't do it justice. I'm glad I gave it a chance. I've said this up and down, that when I first saw the marketing for Camp Cretaceous, honestly, all I could say was, ew, these things look like freaking nightmare fuel. We're making movies for kids now, apparently, with the stupidity of the writing and the lack of death and blood, but they're also now making a dedicated kid version of the franchise. But yet I gave it a chance, and I was really happy that I did. I watched both Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory. I watched every season so far, and funny enough, the kid versions feel way more adult than the actual adult movies, if you can believe that. I don't know why they do this, but even as a kid, I didn't want the kid watered down version of something that's supposed to be scary. I understand, yes, I could be an outlier because I was a very weird child, but I think we can all agree that something like dinosaurs or superheroes are badass because the kind of damage they can do and how powerful they are. Then if it's a human, be looking to what they stand for. Hollywood has lost faith with the majority of its audience, so you can't really blame people for being trigger happy when it comes to something that is a much loved franchise. But when you hurt someone, your job is to try and win back favor with them, not make them more mad, not give them more of a reason to distrust and dislike you. The audience comes first because they're the ones that you need to buy the tickets to your movie or the subscriptions to your platforms. It's different as some random person on the road, but you need these people to help you make money. That being said, as audience members, we need to kind of chill. I'm completely okay, as are most people who are normal and functional, with other people having different perspectives and different preferences. But this whole thing where normal, everyday civilian people are attacking other people for not liking something, or in this case, funny enough, liking it, that's not really helping. Now, I do understand when people recognize very obvious, blatant AI Twitter posts and people who look like they're dead inside reading off a script or something, and why people would not trust that, because these studios do have a bad habit of being dishonest and trying to fool the audience and trick them, which, yeah, I understand why people are a bit trigger happy about that. I've even been distrustful. But if a regular Joe Blow or some other random reviewer who doesn't have a history of doing that is actually listing out the things they do like about something, or, you know, not just using buzzwords like, oh, it's a cinematic masterpiece, better than the first two movies, you won't go wrong, like, then that's their prerogative. I would be interested to use it as a point to ask them, like, what did you like about it? And what didn't you like about it? People can even dislike the direction that the writers took or criticize the directors and the creators of the movie for just spitting out and spewing out all this mediocre productions that just feel like they're wearing the skin of very badly made Marvel movies, which is honestly like everything nowadays. And that's fine. But we cannot have the studios attacking us as the audience and then us attacking each other. The only person who makes it out of this unscathed is the freaking studios and the elites, while we're all down here like fish in a barrel, just acting like the puppets they take us for. Anyway, I'm gonna go see the movie, and I am gonna give you guys my honest review. I do like James Gunn's work. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I loved all of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but especially Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's very hard to make a third movie to a franchise and have that be better than all the rest. Even though the first one was very good, but wow, the one that really stuck in my mind is 3. After all of this time, just to give you guys some context, Jurassic Park 1 still stands out the most to me out of all the Jurassic Parks, and a section in Jurassic Park 2. But if you didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy style, it is possible that you might not like this one if it's in a similar style to that. But I am curious. I'm not going to get my hopes up because I have been burned, but I am curious enough to give it a chance.
He said, truth, justice, and all those good things.
Let's break down her comment about truth, justice, and the American way.
That's BS. That has not always been Superman's slogan. Truth, Justice, and the American Way was introduced on September 2nd, 1942 during World War II in a Superman comic. But it was removed once World War II ended. In 1948, they used only Truth and Justice. In the 1950s, Truth, Justice, and the American Way made a little comeback. In 1966, Truth, Justice, and Freedom was used. In the 1970s, it was Truth, Justice, Peace for All Mankind. In the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman movie, Truth, Justice, and the American Way did come back. The Dean Cain version of Superman was just Truth and Justice. In 2002, Smallville episode used Truth, Justice, and other stuff. In 2006, movie Superman Returns, just Truth and Justice was used.
I have never been like a die-hard Superman fan, but this possibly could be the best superhero movie of the year. It's not a movie without issues, but it's a refreshingly bold comic book movie. This is not an origin story, which is a risky move that I like, but I can see being a hurdle for a lot of people.